All for Geek Alliance presents Narration Fixation. I'm your host, Tommy Howell, and today's guests are Cherami Leigh and John Christie.
So,
welcome.
Thank you.
So, Cherami, you are known as a voice actor, and everybody seems excited that you're known for Asuna.
Yes.
Sword Art Online. Well,
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
That was the very first show that I worked on since moving to LA, so it was very exciting to get to work with Aniplex, and we recorded at Bang Zoom. Previously, all of my shows that I had worked on had been at Funimation, and so they're kind of like family to me. But yeah, it was awesome. I got to meet Bryce, and then the show took off, and everybody seemed very enthusiastic about it. You never know when you're doing an anime if everyone's going to love it or if everybody's going to maybe not love it as much. So that one turned out to be a huge show. So it was great.
Very good. Now, so John, tell us what you've done as far as voice work.
I haven't done so much voice work yet. I've done a few Walla sessions, shows that Cherami has done. Rosario and the Vampire, I did some of that. And then Fairy Tail. I was actually almost in Fairy Tail. Almost had a recurring role in that, but they decided to go another direction. But they kept me for the background work. And then recently I started doing some promos for Radio Disney with Cherami, so commercial specs and different spots highlighting different DJs, different times. So it's very similar work to what Cherami's been doing. And then aside from that, I just recently recorded a voiceover demo this last week, hopefully to get more voice work in the future. I'm just now starting to break into that market. So
are you able to leverage your relationship with Cherami to get some of this work? Or is it using her skill base to build yours?
Well, we both have agents that will send us out for things like that. Definitely with voiceover, and specifically in LA, it is harder to crack into the market. But I will have directors that will contact me occasionally and say, like a couple weeks ago, there was a director that said, I need a guy who can sound like an urban black guy, but I also need him to sound like an Italian man, and I need him to sound like a white 20-something guy. Do you have somebody in that range? And I was like, I mean, yeah, my husband could do that. And he said, okay. And of course, everyone's like, oh, she's pimping out her husband to get some work. And I'm like, well, let him like send in an audition and send in a demo. And so he'll send in a demo, and then if people say like, we're trying to find this voice, we don't know who can fit it, or if there's something that I know he does well, and they're auditioning for it, I might say like, would you mind if I send this in? But I know that he will knock it out of the park, so I don't have a problem asking every once in a while if I know it's like right in his wheelhouse and I know he would be great for it. But most of the time he gets all the stuff on his own. So if I can do that, cool.
Her connections don't hurt though.
Yeah,
very good.
Meet her people.
But he has to do the bulk of the work on his own, and he's gotten auditions for me and gotten connections that way with some of the people he knows. So it's a balance, I guess. It's a give and take.
More
like
take
a
for me though. More take. I give a little. I take a little.
So I saw that on IMDb you had a shared credit on a web series called Throwing Stones.
Yeah.
How did that go? Is that how y'all met?
It is not how we met. We had been dating for a couple of years, but she had done a short film with the director and writer of Throwing Stones about a year prior, and he asked Cherami if she wanted to be one of the producers on the new web series Throwing Stones, and so they were having auditions one day, and it was early in the audition day, but they hadn't found some of the guy roles that they needed, and Bart, the director and writer and producer of Throwing Stones, she turned to Cherami and was starting to freak out, and Cherami's like, I mean, I can call my husband in, and they were like, do it.
You were my husband at the time.
Sorry.
It was supposed to be like kind of an athlete, and we weren't finding the type that we needed, and they were like, well, we want a football player, and I was like, he's not a football player, he's a basketball player. I mean, he played basketball in high school, and I'm sure he could play a baseball jock if you needed him to. And I said he could be a football player. He's just not built like a football player. And they said, we don't care, bring him in. And so they ended up finding that character, but they liked John so much that they were like, we're going to write something for him. And I was like, I am going to wash my hands clean of this situation. I do not want to be the producer that was influenced by her boyfriend being in the room. You do what you want. So that was one of the things that I walked away from. And then the other 3 producers were like, no, we have to have him in the show. So they did that with, I think, 2 or 3 other characters as well, that they're like, we need them in the show. We don't have a role for them, so we're going to write it.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
So pretty much everything for me in Throwing Stones was improvised. They didn't write any dialogue.
Yeah.
They gave us scenarios to kind of introduce the characters for the web series. That's what those video diaries are that I'm in, is all to introduce these characters to the audience. But they said, okay, you need to hit this bit of information, do this one thing, but everything else just fill it in with whatever you want. So I'm like, all right, so everything was improv for me.
He was also my personal basketball coach on that film. I mean, on that project, because I was supposed to be like this all-star basketball jock, and I've never played basketball before, so I played basketball, but I'm a dancer, so I don't do it very well. And so John was like, all right, so I went over to his house, and he was my basketball coach. There was only so much you could do in such a short period of time. I was a little bit of a hopeless cause.
Oh, no.
You said I was good at the time.
But I said it in the way of like, yeah, it was good. It was good.
No, you said, that was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was expecting the worst, and I was like, oh, she's well coordinated. Okay.
She's not that bad. Got it. But yeah, no.
As long as nobody noticed in the audience, right?
I mean, I think somebody might have.
In the finished product, it was great.
I think it's very clear that she's never played basketball before. But in the clip that they noted that about was the one clip where they had told me, like, you're terrified and you have no form. And they were like, throw the form out the window. And I was like, people are going to say something. John is going to be so mad. And they're like, it doesn't matter. You're scared and it's not about form. So it's all out the window. So, of course, people were like, her form's terrible. And I was like, it's supposed to be. That was my direction. Yell at Bart and Jason. So, yeah.
There you go. So, tell me more about some of the other voice work you've done. You said you've done some work for Funimation also.
Yeah, I'm Lucy in Fairy Tale. I am, oh my gosh, now Sailor Venus in Sailor Moon in the new Sailor Moon redub.
Oh, that's awesome.
And oh my gosh, I'm like drawing blank. Patty in Soul Eater, Lizzie in Black Butler. Oh goodness. What are some of the other ones? Do you remember? I don't remember.
You had a bit in One Piece, didn't you?
Yeah, I played 4 characters in One Piece. The very first show I ever worked on was Signed Peach Girl, so I was like the ultimate mean girl there. I don't know. I started working at Funimation when I was 18, so like 8, almost 9 years ago. So there's been a lot of shows in that time frame.
I mean, you can pretty much name any anime.
No.
And her IMDb list for anime is like it's large.
He's very nice. That's not.
Seriously, you just scroll and you scroll and you scroll, and it's just show after show after show. So she's in a bunch.
So video games or commercials?
Yeah, I worked on Borderlands 2. I was Gage the Micromancer, the DLC, and I've worked on a couple other video games since then. Plutia and Iris Heart in Neptunia, and I don't know which games have been released and which ones haven't, and of course I would say something and get in a massive amount of trouble for that. So yeah, I worked on various video games, various projects and things like that. Commercials, I started doing commercials when I was like super small, like 5 or 6. So I've done a lot of those. I think some of the ones that people like recognize. I did an Albertsons commercial. I did a Texas Lottery commercial with an elephant. I did a Papa Murphy's commercial, birth control commercial. I guess there's no way to go about that. That is what it is.
Family planning.
Yeah, it was it's an internet ad, so I think that's still like people randomly. It's one of those horrible ads that they say, like, skip in 3 seconds. Or everyone's like, but we saw it was you, so we watched it. Like, well, that's nice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So do you get recognized a lot?
No, not really.
Voice?
I guess some people might recognize my voice, but that's what's so cool about doing anime things is that people, they don't expect to know what you look like. So when they hear your voice, they might go like, oh, that sounds familiar, and then they let it go. The only time that I might get recognized would be like at an anime convention where everyone's like knowing that they're going to meet the voice actors, so they're like looking for the voices.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I guess after Friday that could change, but...
Yeah, she's got a movie opening up this weekend in L.A. Called Not Cool with Shane Dawson. It got filmed in Pittsburgh earlier this year. She's got her big premiere this weekend. It's going to be running for a week in one of the theaters here in L.A., so...
And then it will be in New York next weekend, which will be fun. But I know that when Shane Dawson was shooting, he was the director and he was the star of the movie. We had a docuseries that was associated with the film called The Chair, which is on Stars. And so when he was shooting the film, there were people that were like showing up all over the place. I felt like I was with like 5 Seconds of Summer or One Direction, because there were like people everywhere, and they were like, oh my god, are you Shane Dawson? Will you take my picture? I'm like, yes, I will take the picture for you. Let's do it. This is insane. Please, the once in a lifetime, meet Shane Dawson. I wanted to get like a sign. So, I don't know if because they all go to see the film because he's in it, then they'll like know what I look like. I don't know. My hair was a different color though, and I'm wearing a hat for most of the movie, so I don't know. It's very weird.
You have a very memorable face though.
Well, I don't know about that. You remember what it looks like because you see it every day.
Wow.
You married it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, that's that's good.
Yeah, you know.
So so what else can you tell us that's coming up in your line of work?
Well, I did a film about 5 years ago that will be released later on this year. I think November, December. They haven't told us when the dates are, but that's called Beyond the Farthest Star, and that's a faith-based feature that's been like in post-production and looking for a distributor for years now. So it's that battle, and then Ribbit. Which is an animated feature film with Sean Astin, Tim Curry, and Russell Peters. Oh. And that's currently out in Asia, and then it will be slowly making its way toward the U.S. So yeah, that's from the people that did Alpha and Omega with Hayden Panettiere and Justin Long. So I don't know when the release date is for that yet either, but they say it's coming. So yeah, it was. Is there anything else that I know that I can talk about that's happening?
Probably not.
Yeah,
that's probably it.
But
that's a lot.
All I'm allowed to share that I know what's going on. Doing some anime conventions. Your play, we're allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, I wrote a play that I'm producing here in Burbank, and we're actually having our second read through with the full cast next week. And we go into rehearsals in October. It opens in November. And I'm really excited about the play. It's all the characters are different holidays. And it takes place on New Year's Eve. And at the end of Act 1, New Year's Eve gets killed. And so you have to figure out which of the holidays had a problem with New Year's Eve, which holiday didn't like their own holiday so much that they wanted just to stop time and never do it anymore. So it's one of those Clue type of murder mysteries where the audience kind of gets to dictate how things unfold and who done it. And there's different endings, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have like 6 different endings.
6 different endings.
So we're memorizing 6 different endings that can change.
Cherami's in it. She's playing Halloween. It's very funny.
He very selfishly put me in a character that is going to challenge me because this is everything that I have avoided playing. It's been 11 minutes and 5 seconds and she hasn't changed clothes. When does this change happen?
Yeah, but she will be dressed in various stages of revealing kind of costumes because
this is my nightmare.
The bit with her character is I feel like there are a lot of girls who on Halloween dress provocatively because they feel like they can get away with it because no one's going to call them a prostitute or a slut or anything like that because, oh, it's a costume. So she represents that side of Halloween, but she thinks she's terrifying because she's Halloween, so she's super scary and she's vicious and whatever, but she's such a girly girl too, so that's the dichotomy for her. It's really, really funny.
Yeah.
So are you directing, or are you going to star in it at all?
I am directing it. I try not to act in plays that I'm also directing. I feel like that would get very muddled, and who's going to keep me accountable if I'm the director? It's like, I'm going to see everybody, and then I'm like, okay, you sucked, you were okay, you need to do this better, but no one can keep me accountable, so I don't like to star in things that I'm also directing, but I'm directing it, I wrote it, I'm producing it, or at least one of the producers, so this is a big John Christie driving force for this play. It's a lot of me, but I've got a great team behind me that's going to be helping me out. So, looking forward to it.
What other kinds of projects have you directed?
I've directed pretty much only like theater stuff, a lot of plays, primarily plays that I've written. I did about 6 of my original plays in Dallas, various places in the black box space near Water Tower at the Addison Theater Center. I did a show there. I did a lot of plays at the Bathhouse Cultural Center off White Rock Lake. I was in a play festival there at the Festival for Independent Theaters. I did that, the FIT Festival. I did that about 4 years ago, I want to say 3 or 4. And then I did a play for MBS Productions. I did one of their, they had a short play festival, 7 plays in 7 days is what it was called. Yeah. And I directed one of the shows there. I directed a play for my local hometown community theater, Lakeside Community Theater in the Colony. I directed Rumors there. But it's pretty much been my own stuff so far. Yeah.
So what else would you like to tell your fans about what's going on with you right now?
Just, I guess I'm very excited to see everybody at conventions. That's always fun. I've been trying to start doing positivity things because that's something that's very important to me. I feel like, especially with all of the bullying that happens, specifically cyberbullying and things that are being posted on the internet, there have been a couple of times where I've read comments or had people tag me in something and I've read it and then just felt so crushed about what was said. And instead of vocalizing that, I thought, well, I will instead focus all of my efforts on positive energy and making things as positive as I can rather than giving that any attention or any energy. And so I started reading this book called Miracles Now, and they offer like a little affirmation or quote every day where you can put it on Twitter, put it on Instagram or Facebook. And so I've been doing that, and a lot of people were responding very, very positively to that. And I always wear positive T-shirts or positive sayings on my bracelets. It's like very important to me. So if ever I looked in a mirror or down at my arm or something, there would be something with a positive phrase to get me back on track. And I love wearing beanies. In Not Cool, when I was in Pittsburgh, I wore a hat like every day, sometimes 3 hats a day, because one of them was my set hat, and then one of them was mine that went from home, and then I had to wear another one over that because it was freezing. So I was trying to find beanies that had positive sayings on them, and I couldn't find any. And so I was talking to John, and he was like, why don't you just make them? Why don't you like come up with the phrase and do things like that? So I have some that I've been taking to conventions, and they've been doing really well. And there's a initiative that I am affiliated with here in Los Angeles where they feed the homeless, and it's a friend of mine, and she makes food for 150 people once a month, and of no cost to anyone else. She fronts everything and only asks for donations. So that's where a portion of the proceeds from the hats have been going to help her. I have a friend who works for the Turning Point in Plano, Texas, which is all about providing, I guess, help and guidance for helping women and children from battered and abused homes or abusive relationships or things like that, and helping them get out of the situation. So that's the other cause that I like to donate to from the proceeds from the beanies that I sell. And then I don't know, John's been talking about he might be jumping in and helping out, doing his own versions of the beanies.
Well, that's a ways down the road. We're gonna see how hers do, and if there's like, it's all about supply and demand.
If there's a demand for John Christie beanies,
because I've got some ideas, but yeah,
that's what he's saying.
Yes, and then on my end for her fans, we're going over some of our old videos that we've taken. We went to AvCon in Australia a couple months ago. We took a lot of videos of that convention, and I took upon myself to film solo, so without Cherami, but I wanted her fans to kind of get a look at what all the convention is like for her that the fans don't get to see. So like, what is Cherami like prepping for going to speak in front of 100 people at a panel, or what's it like on the set of one of Cherami's photo shoots at a convention? What is she doing in between, and that kind of stuff. So I wanted to give them an inside scoop on that. So I just posted the first of our videos from AvCon today. It just went live about 45 minutes ago. It's a couple minutes long.
I didn't even know that. Look at that.
She was elsewhere. I did that on the slide. But I'm going to be posting a video every couple of days. Some of them will be both Cherami and I. Some of them will be just me. And the ones that are just me will be showing, you know, what Cherami is doing at the time that the fans might not get a chance to see otherwise. So that's that.
So what cons are you attending coming up that people might catch you at?
Coming up, I will be going to Anime Weekend Atlanta, I believe next weekend, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll
then,
be there with her.
I will be going to, I believe it's called Realms Con in Corpus Christi, and I think it's the 5th and 6th of October that weekend. And then the following weekend, I will be back in Canada for, I think it's Odafest Aurora, I think. I don't know. Not 100% sure on that one. And no, that's where I'm going in. That's where I'm going in November, on the day after Black Friday.
Oh.
The one that I'm going to, I guess, the 11th and 12th is BonsaiCon in North Carolina. I don't remember where I'm going. I know I'm going to those places. I think those are all the right names. I hope that's all the right stuff. I'll tweet it and remind it and be a little better and more accurate about things.
Very good.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
So far, that's what it is.
Well, thanks for watching Narration Fixation. Our guests today have been Cherami Leigh and John Christie. And if you'd like to keep watching more stuff on the All for Geek Alliance, you might check out the Lore Explorer with Trainer Jody and the Plot Hook Inn with Daniel Wallace.